So I like to look at the weather network because I work outside, so I kind of like to know what's going to happen the next day. It's not always accurate in the long term, but on the short term, the network, the weather network is actually pretty good. And they also give you some messages, some warnings for when something happens, and it's sometimes pretty funny. Like, for example, on January 7th this year, 2024, we had a special weather statement, and it says potential for winter weather early this week. January 7, winter weather? Really? So that kinds of make me laugh a lot. But anyway, comes from the issued by Environment and Climate Change Canada. I mean, mind you, the climate is changing every season, right? From winter to spring, summer, it's a different climate. So, fair enough. You can call yourself Climate Change Canada. No problem. So, yesterday, on January 16, 2024, we had again a special weather statement. So, January 16, 2024, Snowfall Warning. So, of course, new snowstorm is expected to arrive tonight. So, different region from Vancouver to Vancouver Island, and also Seashell area and the Sunshine Coast in BC, British Columbia. So, obviously, snow is expected. And so, yesterday on the 16th, I was working outside. It was a delightful day. Pretty sunny most of the time, and the temperature were about -1 degree Celsius and 2 degrees Celsius positive, right? So, it's a good time for the work I do, which at this time of the season was tree pruning. So I had a good day, and as usual, when I work outside, I always look at what's going on above me and the sky. And here I go. I look at the sky, and this is what I see. And you know what? I see that all day long. All day long they've been spraying us. Yes, I know, condensation, you will tell me. So the explanation for those trails, they say it's the condensation coming out of the plane when it reaches a temperature to about -50 degrees Celsius or even lower. So then the water coming out, the vapor coming out of the planes, crystallize because it's so cold, and it becomes all these trails. My question is, in the winter, up in the sky, there's definitely -50 degrees Celsius and more, right? So why don't we have those trails every effing day? It's not every day. Sometimes I have a blue sky and I do see the planes going and nothing behind them. And some days we have that all day long. Yesterday was all day long. So, I took pictures. This is disgusting. This is not natural, is it? Snowfall warning. Gee, I wonder why. I wonder why. Could this has to do with this? That's a fair question. I don't know what's inside those. Is it just water? Is it more? What I know is that I've been digging into, weather modification for quite some time.
We talk about it, sing about it, and definitely complain about it, the weather. But have we come to the point where we can control the weather? Technically, that's still too good to be true, but the winds might be changing. Let's talk about cloud seeding. It's described as the enhancement of natural precipitation.
So here, I do have a lot of, probably it's nothing, there's probably way more weather modification patents from 1891 all the way through the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and even 2000, probably more in between. Here, from this one, this patent, 1951, process for controlling weather. 1964, cloud seeding generator by silver iodide. And here, generation of ice nucleating crystals. So if you look into those, 64, seeding of clouds, introduction into supercooled atmospheric clouds of materials which cause the formation of ice crystals in the clouds, has been practiced for a number of years, and this was 64, practiced for a number of years for the purpose of controlling or modifying weather conditions. One method of cloud seeding is described in the US patent, blah blah blah, from 1951. I did go on that one. This is the 1951. They do talk about ice crystal formation is supercooled aerosol or cloud may be initiated by seeding the cloud with particles of a substance, for example, solid carbon dioxide. When such crystals are formed in a cloud of supercooled water droplets, the latter are converted into snow crystals, which continue to grow until ordinary snowflakes are formed by the described process spreading through the supercooled cloud.
To explain how cloud seeding works, we need to first talk about clouds.
Clouds are a bunch of water droplets or ice crystals floating in the sky. The water droplets are too small to fall as precipitation, but they are large enough to form the clouds we see. In most parts of the world, these droplets are supercooled, meaning they're below freezing, but they remain liquid. Now, sometimes these droplets are just milling around, pushing past each other and not sticking together, kind of like a missed connection. Other times, these droplets bump into each other, like commuters on a train during a busy rush hour. The water vapors collide and stick to particles floating in the air. It could be dust, smoke particles, or even meteoric debris. Those are known as condensation nuclei.
Basically, they inject particles, could be solid CO2 particles. There is also another type of particles, I would believe it's silver iodide. And then eventually, depending on certain conditions, certain temperature, it can become snow. And then the snowflakes are formed. And I guess then they drop.
So cloud seeding can produce what we want more or less of, more snow, more rain, or smaller hail pellets.
This is done by introducing a seeding agent through pyrotechnic flares attached to an aircraft. Think Roman candles with a mission to deliver those condensation nuclei that encourage more collisions and group huddles by ice crystals inside the cloud. Common seeding agents used are dry ice, the solid form of carbon dioxide, silver iodide, or simple salts like sodium chloride. Seeding agents act as additional ice nuclei. In the case of silver iodide, its structure is very similar to ice, hexagonal, which is why experts think ice wants to bond to it. When silver iodide is used in a cloud, water droplets begin to give up water vapor and shrink. At the same time, the ice crystals already present in the cloud collect this moisture and grow. As ice crystals bang into other ice crystals, they become larger and heavier until they fall from the cloud.
The type of precipitation which reaches the ground will depend on the temperature conditions existing below the cloud. Thus, warm temperatures are conducive to the formation of rain, while temperatures closer to the freezing point of water are conducive to the maintenance of the originally snow crystalline state, and thus there is obtained a fall of snow to the ground.
So why would we even want to do this? Who does it benefit?
In the wintertime, increase in snowfall is a very significant value add to organizations like hydropower companies.
Idaho Power Company, for example, is interested in having more snowfall during the winter because this produces more runoff in the springtime for hydroelectricity. Wineries, such as ones in Mendoza, Argentina, have also used cloud seeding to protect their vineyards from damage through hail suppression. And lastly, insurance companies like ones in Alberta fund cloud seeding projects in order to lessen damage claims they receive.
If you're interested, you can read the whole thing. This one is patent 2570867, US patent from 1951. Method of crystal formation and precipitation. And from 1964 3127107. Generation of ice nucleating crystals. So there's different pattern, control of tropical cyclone formation, method of dispersing natural atmospheric fogs and clouds, rainmaker, hurricane and tornado control device, intelligent systems for weather modification programs. So, I mean, there's so many patents in regards to weather modification, actually.
But does it work? In 2008, Beijing claimed that they made it rain early with cloud seeding to ensure blue skies with the Olympic opening ceremony. In contrast, the American Meteorological Society released a statement in 2010 saying there's still uncertainty whether current cloud seeding techniques actually work to achieve the desired changes in precipitation. According to the World Meteorological Organization, 52 countries have a weather modification program, and many of them continue to boost funding for such operations, all in an effort to perhaps one day control the weather.
Today we had a snow day. Today we had this. After having this yesterday, today we had this. And more, actually. That was this morning, about 16.5 or 17 centimeter. That's this morning. I guess they were not kidding when they said snowfall warning, right? Awesome. Love it. It shouldn't stay though. Temperature are gonna rise in a few days and everything is gonna melt and go away, flushed with rain. That was the weather network. That was yesterday, so we had like -2 in the evening, partly cloudy, very nice, and the snowfall warning arrives tonight. So I just wonder if this from yesterday could have brought this snowfall, or if whatever they did here was to try to limit, to make it not as bad. I don't know, you know, it's all the questions, if it's linked or not actually, but this is what I saw. This is my observation. Yesterday, this kind of sky, and today, snow. Right? That's today. Beautiful.
Okay, so we talked about this last week, and now we're going to do a deep dive with Davo. Dubai is making it rain in a sweltering desert by zapping clouds with electricity using drones.
Fascinating, isn't it? And this has been going on for decades, by the way. This is not something that's brand new. But traditionally, what cloud seeding is, it involves using aircraft or drones or even some cannons to push silver iodide up high into the clouds. So once it gets up into the clouds, it starts to accumulate ice on it and these large raindrops, which helps, especially in a cloud mass that's not really going to rain. It helps to bring rain and especially snow down.
So it works.
It does work. Marginally.
Yeah, here's your 7 days. See, the temperature coming back up. So I don't know if what we had here made it like help with the increase of temperature and then melt of the snow, or maybe they needed snow in the mountains for the snow season, the ski season. Who knows, right?
Residents in southern Tasmania are demanding to know why cloud seeding was conducted over the Derwent River catchment the day before the worst floods in 40 years. Cloud seeding is a technique used to increase rain. Hydro Tasmania has confirmed it flew a cloud seeding flight despite the weather warnings. Farmers believe the technique could have made the flooding worse. The Premier says a formal inquiry will be held into the effect and handling of the floods if it's necessary.
Here's 2 weeks, of course, this is gonna change, but you'll see the rise of temperature and a better weather. So everything is gonna be flushed. And it's pretty mild for the season, I have to say, but I remember 2010 in Vancouver in February, the cherry trees were in flower and they had to bring snow for the Olympics happening in Vancouver. That was funny. It was pretty hot for the season. Ha! And this is the historical average. I mean, this is what we have usually in temperature in the winter. You know, it could be from -2 to 6 degrees Celsius in January, February. That's pretty much what we have. November, December, that's pretty much what we have. So no big deal here. Actually having 4 or 5 degrees Celsius in the winter in our region is actually pretty average. People are going to say, oh, it's very hot for the season, climate change, blah, 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 but I'm not surprised. The average is actually average.
Is our weather being modified, or is this climate change? Now, what's super weird is when you get into the patents of weather control, you can see this one, hurricane and tornado control device utilizing sound to steer hurricanes or tornadoes in the direction in which you want to turn them. Next, we have method for controlling hurricanes, and this is showing airplanes flying through, dispersing chemicals to control the direction. Next, we move to weathermodification.com, where you can sign up your airplane to modify the weather, specific customer needs. Then we go to the geoengineeringmonitormap.org, and we see that there's this geoengineering map that shows all the weather programs taking place prepared by this foundation. And then we go to their website, see all the 1,700 projects going on across the planet. As it loads, we see that this one, weather modification, comes up right in this general vicinity. And when we click that one, increased precipitation, then I found this document called the Weather Modification Act of 1976. So the question is the climate changing, or is somebody changing the climate?